Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this show right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a show that aired in 1999, based off of a very popular hit TV show called The Simpsons, right? So The Simpsons came out in 1989, and it was a very earnest kind of portrayal of what normal working class families were like in America at that sort of time. And as the show kind of went on over the next sort of 10 series, first it became this huge smash hit and it came right out of the gates and everyone went mad for it, and there was this big cultural trend about them, and they became this cultural institution. So as the course of the show went on over the next 10 series, the show itself kind of became commodified. Even if I quite like a lot of series 10 and 11 and 12 of The Simpsons, I like a lot of that sort of stuff where they're taking it in a bit of an edgier sort of direction, because they've done the earnest thing, they've done the small intimate stories with real people and real characters. They've done all of that, and they did about 4 series of that. And then they did multiple series where they had elements of that with elements of meta humor and like various like nihilist kind of philosophy. Like, I don't know if it's nihilist the right word, but like the Bort and Elisa episode where Bart and Lisa are trying to sort out how to solve the problem. And then it gets right to the end, and they get up to the stage, and they're about to give their big like speech that's going to solve everything. And there's just 2 random other people that happen to look like them giving that speech, and it's like, oh, that's kind of weird, isn't it? So I like the kind of postmodern direction that the show took, especially under the Mike Scully reign as when he was showrunner. That was through series 9 through 12, but really 10 through 12, because 9 was a sort of amalgamation of various showrunners, and he spearheaded it, but that was much more of a community driven thing, not really, but you know what I mean. Like, different episodes had different people, whereas 10, 11, 12 were like very Mike Scully. They were his vision, and you can see the shift more between series 9 and 10 than you can between series 8 and 9. So in the wake of all of this, in the wake of The Simpsons becoming this more postmodern show, and this big institution, and they're sort of still having fun with the characters and taking them in new places, but generally taking them into these more extreme avenues of life. Show called Family Guy gets started up in 1999. Now, South Park and I guess Beavis and Butthead and stuff like that had been coming out, and South Park in particular was starting to do really well. I think South Park was on series 3 by that point, and it had released a movie by that point, so it was doing very well. And that was a much edgier version of what The Simpsons kind of comedy was actually doing, and it took it in a very snarky and political direction. A lot of South Park, and a lot of particularly early South Park, or all of South Park actually, is basically the 2 showrunners, Matt and Trey, just like giving their own political ideology, but in the form of like an entertaining sort of thing. Like, they'll have episodes about how the smoking industry is actually kind of all right, actually, and our old house phone is ringing, even though the only thing that ever calls it is scammers. So scammers have just interrupted this video. So go and respond to your local scammer and tell them I fucking sent you, and we're gonna get them all, Right, you've given up. Right, so frazzle me now, bastard. So, in the wake of all of this context, I think the context is important here, because Family Guy came out in this sort of era where The Simpsons was doing extremely edgy stuff, South Park was already an extremely edgy show and was only going to get like more extreme as time went on. And Family Guy, when it first came out, it was kind of more earnest and down to earth than even The Simpsons at the time. Obviously now it's seen as like this bit much more big and bombastic and edgy version of The Simpsons, but at the time The Simpsons was kind of the edgier show, apart from the fact that like Family Guy could swear and The Simpsons couldn't, because like this was aired, I think it was aired after prime time. It was like, I don't know how it works in America. I don't know if they have a watershed in America, because in the UK you can swear on telly after 9 p.m. So that's the watershed. So once 9 p.m. goes, you can start, effing and jeffing and all that. So the Family Guy comes out, has series 1, 1999, clearly does quite well. Seth MacFarlane is someone that has been working on animations for a while. He did an animation called Larry and Steve, which I'll get up for you actually, because it's really fun. Larry and Steve. I love this. I wish they'd made more of these. It kind of reminds me of Ren and Stimpy in a weird way. Shut up. Reminds me of Ren and Stimpy in a weird way. Like the way that the characters kind of are.
Said about the task of being noticed by prospective pet owners. Hey, Opie, would you like a dog? Excuse me, sir. Sorry, I can do your taxes for you. Nope. Okay.
So I love all that, and I love this bit where the car splits in half. They're doing the whole classic cartoon kind of thing and taking it in some fun directions and include this wasn't so much meant to be an adult animated like thing from what I can tell. It's not particularly adult. It's the sort of thing you could show like a 9-year-old sort of thing. It's not for 5-year-olds, not for babies, but it's not for like adults either. It's in that Ren and Stimpy sort of niche that it's carved out for itself. And then he did another pilot that I've forgotten the name of, so, brilliant, isn't it? And then he did Family Guy, and Family Guy ran for 3 series between 1999 and 2001, or really 2002. For some reason, this one episode, When You Wish Upon a Weinstein, seems to have come out like a year after all the rest, and from what I can tell, it's because they thought it was anti-Semitic. But from what I can tell, Family Guy is quite a Jewish show, so can you be anti-Semitic against yourself? I don't know. Anyway, not getting into that. So, this episode, what's this episode called? I've completely forgotten. I don't think about the titles very much, because they tend to just be like, a lot of them tend to be, and this is the case of The Simpsons as well, they tend to be parodies of other things, and they'll stick like names of the characters in. So I don't know why they need to do that. But anyway, why I like this one and why I've been talking about The Simpsons is I want to draw a parallel between 2 episodes. One is, what the fuck's it called? The King is Dead. The King is Dead, alright? That's the first episode, that's the Family Guy episode. And I want to compare it to a very special episode that you've probably seen a couple of video essays on YouTube about. If you're watching me just ramble about cartoons, you've definitely seen this video. The the lad who turns everything green, all the Simpsons, he turns them green. He did a video about Homer's Enemy, and there's probably a couple episodes about Homer's Enemy. And you know how Homer's Enemy is this kind of introspective, kind of meta look at how Homer's character and his ineptitude and his laziness and all that would actually play out in the real world by putting such a straight man in the form of Frank Grimes. So this takes that same concept, puts it between the main 2 characters, and then like glazes the entire thing with a bit of a thematic institutional sexism kind of thing. So, and I do think this is a really good episode, and I will be comparing it favourably to Homer's Enemy. I know that Family Guy gets a lot of shit, and there is a lot of absolute garbage on Family Guy, and sometimes even during a good episode they will do a joke where I kind of sit there like this, and it can be very cringy, and something that I kind of like about Family Guy is that kind of cringiness, is that it feels like they're drawing from their British contemporaries. It feels very much like, I don't know, Seth MacFarlane has respect for some of the British sort of things that came before, and he wants to turn that into his own thing. Like he's clearly a man who loves his sitcoms and his comedy, and I don't think that he approaches these shows, even if they can eventually commodify and become these corporate things, you can still get the sense that his heart and soul is in the comedic world, and he has this significant love for it, which can sometimes get in the way of the comedy. And I think that Family Guy gets a bad rap. It certainly isn't an amazing show. It's not like as good as The Simpsons. It didn't have a run nearly as long as The Simpsons. It doesn't have the political edge and of South Park, and it doesn't have the hearty feels of The Simpsons. So it's kind of stuck in this in-between. But I didn't like Family Guy for like 10 years, and I kind of realised that it was because I'd sort of been told that Family Guy was a bad show. Like I watched a lot of I've watched a fair bit of Family Guy, and I didn't love it, I didn't hate it either. But as I think in 2016, 17, especially when you go into film school and all this sort of stuff, it's like drilled in your head like, this is the good stuff, this is the bad stuff. You want to make the good stuff, not the bad stuff. You want to make the king of comedy. You don't want to make Family Guy. Frankly, I would rather make Family Guy the two things. Family Guy lasts for ages, and like it can be comfort food. King of Comedy is a film. I've got to sit down and engage with the film. So sure, maybe that would be a deeper well of emotional resonance when I actually watch it, but I think the shallow pool going over a longer stretch of time is more comforting in the long run. Like when I've been, having a bit of a relaxation thing in the past 4 weeks, I've just been watching Family Guy. Family Guy has become my new comfort show. Before that, it was I had a brief period of South Park, and then it was The Simpsons, and then intermixed with all this is like live action, like British sitcoms. So your Alan Partridge's, The Office, FM, which is a show that's quite like the IT Crowd, but it's sort of set in a DJ thing, and it's got Chris O'Doyle. But anyway, let's get into the comparison. Let's get into what makes these two episodes, Homer's Enemy and The King is Dead, different, similar, and why I think that this is a really good episode that you should check out. So let's just skip straight past this bullshit. Right, so the way it starts off is Lois gets this gig as a theatre director, right? So, it kind of gets straight into it.
Are you gonna do it?
So, gets pretty much straight into it. I love this joke, by the way, where, they've set up the plot beat of she's on the phone and they're giving her the job. So she's like, oh, do I take it? And then
I need a moment to think. Okay, I'll do it.
This just in, Lois Griffin has been named
they were
the
just
new artistic director
they were just
of the Golden
reporting on the
Globes.
news. That still cracks me up. So, we've gotten straight into it. There's no like act one doing other things. This is a very focused story. And Family Guy and The Simpsons are both very guilty of these irrelevant first acts. And that part of their style, and I get that they make so many episodes that sometimes they have to formalize ways of getting around things, and that's a fine way of doing it. I understand that maybe not every plot can stretch out for 20 minutes, so they have this extra thing, but you know that it's going to be good when you just get straight into the story. So she's just become a theatre director. Lois just become a theatre director. She's going to be very happy about it. She's really excited, right? And so she's sort of really psyching herself up, and she's telling everyone, oh yeah, I'm really excited, and I want to do The King and I, play The King and I. And Brian's trying to get into it. That's a little thread that goes through the film, but it's not the main conflict. The main conflict, I'm waiting for him to come in. This has almost become a reaction. Get in! So Peter's going to come in at a certain point, right? And Lois is going to go up to him. Oh, here we are. This is it. So Lois is going to say to him, oh yeah, I've got some brilliant news. And he's going to go, no, me first. And it's going to be some bullshit about work, right? And then she's going to try and tell him,
Guess what? I am
Me
gonna.
first. Mr. Weed said whoever comes up with the best idea for
Me
the
first.
Christmas toy this year gets a huge bonus.
completely interrupted her.
Why don't you invent the Frisbee? That's an awesome toy.
It's already been invented.
Then how come I never heard of it?
I don't like Chris and Meg, but like sometimes they crack these little wise things.
Prove how valuable I am to the company. Oh, sorry, Lois. What's your news?
Well,
I love the sheer abrasiveness in the reaction. It got that so right. And that, I think, is a perfect setup for the conflict of this episode. This is going to be an episode about creativity and about conflict between a married couple, and kind of about the institutional sex. Like it's kind of normalized to not bother to listen to the woman, and it's like what the woman is doing is not nearly as important. And later on, it's gonna, yeah. So he's got this toy. It's shite, right? So he gives up, right?
No course.
Yeah. Get on with it.
come on,
So Lois is extremely excited to do this thing. She's in a groove, right? And she hasn't even been able to talk to Peter about, how everything is, going on. We've not had a conversation between them on screen where, like, she's told him what she's even doing. And she's going out.
Can't be late for the
And now it's her job to basically make Peter feel better and give him some confidence, because he's feeling down about the fact that he's not got this creativity because of this toy thing and his, like, 2-scene long bloody little B plot that is designed to put him in this situation, right? To make Lois actually not confide in him, just sort of talk to him and support him, right? Whereas he's not supporting her. So you've got that institutional sexism going on there, because again, that is just standard. The woman's basically just meant to be like the one that, bigs up the man, is like, oh yeah, you're doing brilliantly, you're great. And then that doesn't really get put, in response. In response, it's just say, ah, yeah, you look good. But there's not really much underneath, that kind of thing. So
Hey, you should have heard him laughing at me, Lois. I got great ideas.
So
but they look
basically,
real icy.
she's now just got to, help
He
him
is a
up
loser.
when
Except for the guy
he's
with
done
the
nothing for her.
Yeah, he sees it.
And she does a really good job of like
Albert
talking to him.
Einstein worked for the patent office.
I'm not going to play the whole thing, but she does a very good, supporting monologue kind of thing, like going, you can do it, you just need to be creative. You need a creative outlet, is basically the point of this, right? So,
Part of being creative is figuring out what you're good at. I know you can do it if you put your mind to it.
that's basically what I've been saying for like the past fucking like 2 weeks on these videos.
You're right, Lois. Man was meant to create.
And now that he is motivated to actually do this, now the conflict of the episode is going to come through, because he's going to interfere with her theatre production,
That's why God invented shrinky dinks.
right?
It worked.
Yeah. So he comes onto the stage, right? He comes up while they're doing the auditions and stuff, and in front of everybody, like there's loads of people behind Lois right now. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess it's a formality, because we're married and all that. So he gets on and he does this really god-awful musical, right?
Since I happen to be doing the director.
See, that's my point. So many people that she's embarrassed by him, which yeah. This is what all the musicals in Family Guy sound like to me, by the way. I'm not very fond of their musicals, but they like them, so shut up. Right, so now we've seen that Peter Griffin is very willing to just come onto this production and just like steal it from his wife, right? First, he wants to be on in front of the stage, but he cannot play the king. He can't play he can't play anything, because that was crap. So she tries to make him feel a bit better. Let me find the scene. Okay. Yeah. Here we are. So Peter goes up to Lois and he's kind of like, oh, why aren't I not doing this? And she tries to, like, move around it and skirt around it. She doesn't want to have a whole, like, thing where she upsets him and all this. And so she says to him, oh, why don't you try being a producer? And basically your job is to sell as many tickets to this place as possible. You need to try and sell this place out. Right?
Yes, by not using you to your full potential. You
See how she's kind of awkward about it?
You should.
And the reason that so far I've been comparing it to Homer's Enemy is that I feel like it gets at the idiocy of the main like father figure, but also how he manages to bumble through life and everything just works out for him. Whereas someone who does try and put their heart and soul into it can try so hard and just still fail for no reason, because the world is just like that, So Lois in this case is Frank Grimes and Peter is Homer. Well, he was always Homer, let's be honest.
You should be a
I do like his design though. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
So now we see that he wants to be the producer, okay? And he's got to fill out this entire venue. So now there's conflict. Peter has become like the business type, and he's selling it out, and he comes in with all these stupid ideas, like, you know, turning it into like a sci-fi thing where he's like from the planet England, and all this various kind of nonsense, and he hires the newswoman from the show, and to come on, who's not even an actor, to try and sell more tickets, and he keeps saying, you know, Lois, you told me to try and sell the place out, and that's what I'm doing. You know, you tell me to do these things, and I'm doing it. So, you know, it's kind of, in a way making it like it's her fault that, you know, this production is going off the rails and that her artistic vision is being just completely stamped on. He makes it out like she did that to herself when she didn't. She was just trying to be there, a supportive wife to her husband, and to try and, she didn't want him to come on and ruin her performance and her play and take it over and make it Peter Griffin presents a Peter Griffin story of the King and I, which is what he says it is, right? He uses that exact phrasing. She wanted him to try, you know, doing something creative on his own, and she could even help him in that regard, and he could help her like a little bit, you know, without completely taking over the entire production. So I think why I like the episode so much is in the second half. Like the first half I think is pretty strong, it's pretty tight, it's pretty focused, but I think the conflict really gets to a head, particularly when he gets Diane Simmons on. Oh, this joke's brilliant as well.
Sure. For that matter, who the hell are you? And
So
community theater production is news.
yeah,
This is still
it's not
on.
news.
For that matter, who the hell are you? And why should I give a damn?
Wow, I'm being interviewed by Diane Simmons. Well, Lois, you told me to do so I did. I got us a story on the 11 o'clock news.
There we are.
Oh, Peter.
So this
Story tonight.
top tidbit.
Playing the role of Anna in the Co-Hog Players production of The King and I. Tom?
Thanks, Diane. In other news, I won't be going to the play because I'm sure it will be lousy.
Tom, I'm getting late word that you're a petty, jealous closet case.
Bit of breaking news. We now go live to Diane being a bitch. Diane?
And now they have a bit of an argument about it. So we can see that Peter is completely willing to sell out and commercialize this production, right? And turn it into something that Lois doesn't want. And as the episode kind of continues, Peter starts trying to introduce more and more changes, using the fact that he's the producer, using the fact that he's got this power to actually do it, right? And eventually, Lois gets kind of sick of it. She fucks off. She's like, no, if you want to come on and just completely ruin my vision, fine, do it. I wanted to make some fucking art. I wanted to do the original. I wanted to be faithful to the original play. If you want to come in and just fuck it all up, go for it, right? And then she storms off, which leaves him kind of on his own. And then Diane Simmons quits, right? So it's like, what the hell does he do now? And he becomes like this kind of James Cameron type for a little bit, which I find quite fun. So then Diane Simmons quits.
By her.
I can't work this way. I quit.
Fine. We can't do The King and I without Anna.
Yeah, this is a real snafu.
We don't need Diane Simmons. We've had someone better all along.
Brilliant.
Someone radiant and sassy.
I love
With a
this joke.
soul and the passion that can only come from hundreds of years of black oppression.
Oh, thank you, Peter. I'll do it.
Oh, get over yourself. I was talking about me.
That's so funny. Hundreds of years of black oppression. Oh, Peter, get over yourself. I was talking about me. I love the pure. Peter Griffin presents a Peter Griffin production of Peter Griffin's The King and I, a Peter Griffin joint. I love how ego-driven it's all become, and I love how this is just his pure vision, right? And it's really, and what he does to the film, to the play, is just absolutely brilliant. He turns it into such a creative thing. It's almost like outsider art in how mad and brazen it kind of is. And what's so much fun is how Lois is expecting all of this to completely fall flat on its face because she sees that, you know, art is supposed to be done a certain way, and now it's not being done that way, and people are responding well to it. That kind of causes a conflict in her head. So I kind of like it in that element a little bit more than Frank Grimes, because Frank Grimes, by comparison, didn't have that huge layer going towards him. He was a straight man who was someone who was very, like, if this person was in the real world, you would act like Frank Grimes. You would be like that, and you would get caught up in your own jealousy and like, how can this man have like such like a 5-bedroom house with 3 kids and a gorgeous wife and fucking lobster for dinner, and not have to worry about his bills, and he can go to space, and he can just do this, and he can just start a coconut farm if he feels like it. All these various things, right? Meanwhile, he has to grind and grind and grind and grind, and the world still beats on him, and that is very similar to this, but with the additional element of the fact that the artistic world, the old artistic world, is full of people that are trying the same thing again and again and again, right? And they are getting diminishing returns because new up-and-comers are trying interesting and novel and innovative things in the creative space, particularly with, not to go on a tangent about filmmaking, but, the likes of Joel Haver and Doom Productions and Don't Tell Show and all of these various people that are all coming together, and so many other just individual people coming together to just make a little creative vision that's completely mad, completely their own thing, that's not following any of the requirements of what makes a good story that we would have been taught in your fucking film school by a bloody old professor who worked on a few episodes of The Bill in 1994. Is actually making true creative expression. And that's what Peter does here. He does actually make true creative expression. Completely and utterly, this is him.
2015 AD. The city lies in ruins after
Remember, this is the King and I.
World War. It is a grim future with lots of explosions and partial nudity. A future where an oppressive new king has seized power. Only one man can stop it. No. One machine. I am an automaton nuclear neo-human android. You may call me Anna. I am a robot ninja from the planet England who is here to destroy you and free this land from your tyranny.
I've been expecting you, Anna. Allow me to introduce my Siamese children.
I will not be swayed by your attempts to confuse my programming with your all-female sex orgy. You must not go fight.
So be it, Anna.
You see, I was kind of like, that was kind of fun, and it didn't immediately fall flat on its face. Like I was expecting it to when I first watched it. I expected it to be, it completely falls flat on its face, and this is such a better way of doing it because it does show that true creative expression can beat out over sticking to old traditional forms of storytelling. And I really like that because it's like Homer's Enemy, but it gives Homer a little edge in this regard. Like in Homer's Enemy, you are not meant to sympathise with Homer whatsoever, and throughout the entire thing, even though while Frank Grimes is kind of running around, there is one bit where Homer says, "Hey, you okay, Grimey?" And it's like, I've seen the analysis where people are like, "Ooh, he's the only one who said, 'Are you okay?'" This kind of shows that this Homer is more sympathetic to him, and he actually liked him, but he didn't like him. It's like, oh, fuck off. It's not. I don't think that one line or the fact that thing was that color, or the fact that angle was done from that way, greatly impacts the story. Because if it's a blink and you miss it thing. If I blinked and or turned around because I got distracted by something, and then I looked back, it would still be the same story, and I would just miss that little element of complexity and layer to it. And it's a fun little thing to talk about. It's not saying don't find these sort of little thematic leads and have these discussions because they're so much fun. But I think with this episode, what it does so well is it gives you this opportunity it starts off and you're not meant to sympathise with Peter at all, and I thought he was kind of an arsehole at the start because of the whole institutional sexism element, and then it slowly morphs into this commentary on the creative world, and it turns it into such an interesting idea of old versus new, in the do you tell stories by the hero's journey, the 3-act structure, all these various things, or do you just do what you fucking want to do? And it turns out that doing what you want to do is the thing that got the biggest applause, right?
I have slain the evil emperor. I hereby proclaim Siam the United States of America. Anna rules, 'cause I kick all the bad guys in their jewels.
So I like because the reason I've been comparing it to Homer's Enemy is that Peter wins out despite looking like such a bumbling, absolute fucking idiot. Meanwhile, Lois is a Frank Grimes type that is having to sort of sympathise with him, and it just sort of becomes this really interesting dichotomy between these two, I want to say, ideologies that kind of come together. And I like it because it's an interfamilial kind of thing. Like, Frank Grimes is this one-time character for the purposes of that show. This is able to take existing characters and put them in these positions. And yeah, I really think it's a great episode. I think this is honestly on par with Homer's Enemy. I think this episode is just as good as Homer's Enemy. Not as good, actually, because it's got a musical number. If it didn't have a musical number, right, because this goes on for another, like, fucking minute, this bit, and it, like, yeah, I get a bit sick of it. So it's not as good because of this, but I do think that the actual narrative and the storytelling and the ideas that are going on are really, really interesting, and I would put it on par with Homer's Enemy. I genuinely really would, and I really like Homer's Enemy. So that's sort of my point. That's my thesis, shall we say? That this episode's pretty good, and I like it. And I thought I would just come on and do a little bit of a video about it because I watched it yesterday, doing my filming for Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and this really helped me feel quite good about it. And it's that you just go out there and you do your true expression rather than worry about trying to stick to old formulas that can feel so tempting to go to because they've been tried and tested and then they have worked in the past and they could still work now. But do you want to take those diminishing returns, or do you want to take a chance on something mad, you know? That's what this episode is asking. And it's just one of the many things that it's got going for it, because it's got like the layer of institutional sexism and like the role of people in the marriage kind of thing, and it's kind of a commentary on that sort of typical like 50s Americana wife and husband kind of thing, but like put a bit more in the modern day, so not exactly that. And then it's got the commentary on the art world and the media and like what people like and what they don't like, and how that's not predictable. And then it's got the Homer's Enemy kind of meta thing of like, how does this bumbling moron manage to make everything work out for him, you know, and how does the world just put up with it? So I think all in all, it's such a fun episode. I really love this episode. It's called The King and I, Series 2, Episode 7 of Family Guy. Family Guy was way better before it got cancelled. If it had gotten cancelled, actually no, I like Series 4. So I think if it had 4 series, then it could have gone out on a really big high note, and people would still love the show, and it would probably be compared quite favourably to The Simpsons and so on. But Family Guy did get bad. It got bad much faster than The Simpsons, and it got much worse than The Simpsons as well. Although, to give Family Guy one thing, it still looks like this. It's just widescreen. The Simpsons changed their whole animation style, and I don't like it because they're so vivid yellow. It's almost like they've all gotten radiation poisoning from the nuclear plant. It's really weird. So yeah, I like the show. I've been wanting to do a video about it for a while, and I thought this particular episode, I had so much going through my mind when I was watching it, and it answered so many questions for me, and I just really like it. I like this episode. I want you to check it out. Series 2, Episode 7, and yeah, I do think it's a Homer's Enemy type story. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments on 1, this episode, and 2, other classic episodes of Family Guy. Because Family Guy is a very scattershot show. You kind of need to look up the best episodes and then just watch those ones, because if you find a crap episode, you are not going to have a good time with it. Like, when the show is bad, it is bad. But when it's good, it is good. And there is not much in between. So unlike The Simpsons, where you can kind of put on some random Series 16 episode and just sort of sit there like this. Family Guy, there's none of that. None of that whatsoever. So, yeah. I think that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you so much for, you know, taking a journey through the American cartoon space. I hope to do some more videos like this. I might start doing it with like I'll record the screen. I can cut to the screen every now and then as well. Let me know. Yeah, let me know about the format. You know, let me know if you like this format. I feel like it's fun because it feels like you're kind of in the room with me, and it's just like you're in the room with someone who's explaining something that they're really passionate about, rather than like editing it and over editing it, that kind of thing. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching this. Couple channels I've been liking lately that do this sort of thing, but like with clips and voiceover and stuff and scripts. There's The Real Gyms, all one word, and KC Reviews, who they're good actually. This guy's pretty good actually. I like him. He did a video about the episode Mobile Homer, and then he took it down for some reason. Fucking hell! And then he took it down. And then he put it back up, and I feel like if he hadn't done all that, he would be at like 50, 100,000 views by now, subscribers by now. And it's such a great video. I really like the thesis that he's kind of got on the entire thing on like what makes an episode bad, and he kind of goes through like, is it comedy? Is it the fact that the character's unlikable? Is it that the drama doesn't work? Is it the story is nonsensical? Is it the fact that it's not funny? And it kind of brings all these things together, and it makes comparisons to other Simpsons episodes where, you know, there's morally reprehensible acts, and sort of compares like this one to this one. Is this one worse than this one? And if it is, does that make it a worse episode? And it's really fun. Really recommend watching this video. I also like this guy, Stu Bagfull. He does these like 2-hour sort of things. They're kind of good like if you're cooking or if you're like falling asleep or something. You can just like have them on in the background. So they're quite fun in that kind of regard. So yeah, that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching this. You have a brilliant rest of the day. Take care. Love you all. And next, at some point, I will do a video on The Simpsons. There's some things I'd love to talk about Simpsons about at some point. But let's see how this one does first. Anyway, goodbye. I need to stop recording now because I'm just talking. Stop it. Stop. All right. Bye-bye. Let's, you didn't see that. We're closing out on this.